tonight. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. If you've been following my lives before now, you would have seen that we started with honesty. Our first live was with honesty. Then last week or sometime this week, we moved on and went into exposing the illusion of New Year resolutions. All right. So tonight, we do something different. Tonight, we stop reacting to life and we start designing it. We look at designing your life so that you don't need yearly resets. You know, the beginning of this whole discourse started from the angle of why is it that life or people generally at this time of the year run through the same pattern and they live their life the same way and get the same results. And they start thinking that they are not at fault or this is something to get a way out has to be something supernatural. That was the whole concept that started this thing. Why is it that people live the same life over and over again every year, right? Like I did say, tonight we do something different. We'll stop reacting to life. We definitely stop reacting to life. And we start designing it. We look at designing your life so that you don't need yearly resets. That is very, very important. Whether it's January or June or September, your playbook or your framework is still the same and it still works. Because here's the truth. If you don't design your life, you will live inside someone else's design. Very, very important. If you don't design your life, you live in someone else's design. And most people don't fail because they are lazy. We've always said this time and time again. People don't fail because they are lazy. They fail because they never built a plan strong enough to carry them. Failure doesn't stem from a position of laziness. It comes from the angle of people not building a plan that is strong enough to carry them. Tonight is not emotional. Tonight is foundational, right? We'll be going back to the basics. This live will require your attention, please. So, for those that are online right now, and for those that will watch this record later, this video later, I want you to understand one thing. This live will require your attention. This is not hype, like I always say. And mind you, this is not excitement also. We're not here for that. All right. If you can, if it's possible, grab a notebook because you don't rise to intentions. Remember, I always said that you don't rise to intentions. You fall to structure. And tonight, we'll build structure. Okay. What I did was kind of prepare the talk in different sections to kind of give it a little structure around our talk. The initial part I want to start with is why is it that most people never plan their life? I really want to have that discussion. Why is it that most people never plan their life? Why? We've been talking about planning, and everybody hears about that. Everywhere you go, you hear about that. You hear that in goals, in schools. And why is it that most people never plan their life? Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Most people plan vacations better than they plan their lives. A lot of people plan vacations better than they plan their lives. They plan trips, they plan events, they plan purchases. But They never stop to plan who they want to become, what they want their lives to look like, what kind of discipline their future requires. Now, I started thinking, why? Why is that? Simply because planning removes excuses. Planning removes excuses. When you plan your life, it takes out excuses. And humans, being humans, we don't want that. We want to hang on to something if something doesn't work. So planning removes excuses. And we don't want that. We want excuse to be somewhere. We want something to blame. Planning forces clarity, and clarity removes denial. So that is still the same thing. We want to make sure there is something to blame. Oh, it is not my fault. Oh, Matt, why is it that this didn't work? This idea didn't work. Oh, it's not my fault. I tried. It's not my fault. That is natural human behavior. It's easier for us to say God will work it out than to sit down and do the work. Oh, it's easier. We depend on God. God will make it happen. God will work it out. It's so simple. All right. But faith without direction leads to frustration. You've heard me say that time and time and again. Faith without direction leads to frustration. Let me give you a real example. So I did a lot of background work here before I came on this live. I looked at real life scenarios or real life examples of these different areas we'll be talking about today. One of the persons that I've been very fascinated with is our shows. So we all know Starbucks, the coffee chain. The CEO, the name of the CEO is Howard Schultz. Now, before he took over Starbucks, before he bought it and transformed it, Starbucks was a very small Seattle-based company founded in 1971. Before then, Starbucks was primarily focused on selling high-quality roasted coffee beans and tea, inspired by Peet's Coffee. You can go search for those details online. There was no cafe experience, and it was operated with limited expansion plans as at that time, sticking to the selling bean and equipment rather than brew coffees until Shows bought the company in 1987. And when he bought it, he built it into a global coffee house chain that we know today. Our show didn't grow up privileged, so don't start thinking about it. He didn't grow up privileged. He grew up in public housing in Brooklyn. His father worked multiple jobs and still struggled. So he had no safety net, he had no security, just survival. But here's what separates Howard from millions of people who grew up at the same time, in the same place, in the same way. At some point, he didn't just hope life would change, he decided to design it. He decided to design his life, which is which is one of the things I am calling you guys to do today. He became intentional about education, international exposure. He became intentional about the environment he placed himself in. And later, when he took over Starbucks, he didn't just sell coffee, he designed a culture, he designed a vision, he designed a system. He built benefit for employees. Now, it made Starbucks a third place between home and work. So if you're going between your home and work, if there's a Starbucks, you want to stop there. He used a global standard. Now, these are specific steps he took. Now, that didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen by wishful thinking. It didn't happen because the year changed. No, it happened because someone decided, I'm not living my life to chance. I am not going to live my life to chance. That's what our should say. So he started working. Most people don't lack opportunity. They simply lack intentional direction. And if you've been following this channel, you know that we are very big on direction. Very big on direction. Where are you actually going to? Now, the second aspect I want to look at tonight is life does not improve by accident. Life doesn't improve by accident. So let me say this slowly. Your life will not accidentally become better. It will become intentional or it will stay familiar. Most people don't drift into success, they drift into comfort. Comfort is very seductive. I've said that so many times. It doesn't hurt enough to force change. And that's why years pass quietly. Same conversation, same struggles, same prayers, different calendars, same outcome. Let me tell you another story. One most people don't like because it exposes excuse. I watch a guy, or I still do, watch a TV host in the United States. His name is Dave Ramsey. I think you guys know him. He's a personal finance consultant and he's the host of Dave Ramsey Show. I started looking at his advices. I followed him a lot and I'm still following him till now. I listen to his advices, his financial advices. People call into his show and he gives them advice on the spot. Dave became a millionaire in his 20s. I was just looking at his background. And he lost everything by 30. His houses went into foreclosure. He had debt. He had public humiliation. But here's one thing that happened. His life didn't turn around because he felt inspired. No. It turned around because he rebuilt his life with structure. I took time to just look at him, look at what this guy has been doing. He rebuilt his life with structure. He put things like budgets, rules, discipline, standards. There was no shortcut, no emotional spending, no I deserve this mentality. No. And that collapse before the foundation, it because of that, it's now helping millions rebuild their financial lives because he has lived that life before. But his success wasn't an accident. It was a response to intentional life design after failure. And many people listening right now, or those that watch this stream later, are one honest plan away from recovery. But they keep waiting for motivation instead. Like I always said, motivation was not meant to be your rod and staff. It was meant to keep you in check. And discipline was supposed to take you to the next level. What does designing your life actually mean? I've been saying this for a while. What does it really mean? Designing your life does not mean controlling everything. No, it doesn't. It means deciding what matters. Deciding what matters. And also deciding what doesn't matter. Deciding also what you will tolerate and deciding what you will protect. Design means you choose your priorities, you choose your standards, you build routines that support your future. You stop living reactively. That's a big one. Stop living reactively. You stop letting urgency replace importance. Design brings order to chaos. I want you to write this down at this juncture. And please be honest with yourself. This is just for you. Number one, what does my average day currently look like? What does my average day currently look like? Is my routine producing the life I say I want? Where am I leaking time? Where am I wasting time, energy, or focus? What am I tolerating that I should be correcting? This is no shame. This is no shame. This is awareness. And awareness is power. Write those down and look at it and sit with it. Because that is the beginning of you redesigning your life in the way that you need to. Now, in this discourse, I also looked at the 4 pillars of life design. We're talking about designing. What are the 4 pillars of life design? Hydro cookie. Hello. What are the 4 pillars of life design? If you're going to design your life, you need structure. Here are the 4 pillars. Number one, vision. Very, very important. Vision. Where am I going? Where am I going? 2, who am I becoming? What does success actually mean to me? Without vision, discipline feels pointless. I'm just trying to see the comment in the live. Now, standards. After vision, standards. What do I no longer negotiate with? What behaviors are no longer acceptable? Standards remove decision fatigue. Then systems. Creating daily routine, weekly readings, non-negotiables. You don't need more motivation. You need better systems. Then boundaries. What will I say no to? What will I say no to? Boundaries protect the future you say you want. Let me talk about someone we only see at the finish line. I was looking at this name today and it really, really touched me. Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is the most decorated Olympian in history. We all know him. For those that are on the live and those that will watch later, we all know Michael Phelps. But what most people don't know is that after the fame, after all these medals, after the applause, he fell into depression. He got into substance abuse, loss of identity. He went into the dark alley. And what pulled him out wasn't inspiration, it was structure. Daily routines, clear standards, therapy, purpose beyond performance. Phelps himself said he needed routine to survive. Even the greatest athlete of all time couldn't live without structure. So if structure isn't weakness for him, it is not weakness for you too. It is wisdom. It is wisdom. All right, there's something that makes a lot of sense: faith, planning, and responsibility. Let's be clear: planning does not replace faith, planning honors faith. No builder prays for a house and refuses to draw plans. God doesn't bless confusion, He blesses obedience. And obedience includes preparation. You cannot keep asking for direction while refusing discipline. A name that comes to mind in this instance is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah that we know today didn't become Oprah by luck. She faced abuse, she faced rejection, she faced career setback, but she was intentional about alignment. She didn't say yes to everything. She protected her environment, she curated her influences, she built systems around her values. She once said, "You don't become what you want, you become what you believe." It's very important. And belief shows up in structure. Her life didn't explode because of a moment. No, it expanded because of consistent alignment. Faith didn't replace planning for her. Faith guided planning. Hello, guys. I'm seeing a lot of you coming up on the chat. Hello, Smooth Photo. Welcome. So that's Oprah. Now, there's something that I'm always thinking about. Why is it that most people abandon their plans? Why? This is going to be the end of the year. This is going to be the end of the year. Hello, my Tep squad. Hi. A lot of people will make plans now going into the new year. So let's not call it New Year resolution because we already made a video on that and said that doesn't work. Let's call it plans. A lot of people will make plans going into the new year, but here's why plans fail. Not because they are bad, no, but because they expose who we are and the person we are not yet willing to become. Plans demand consistency. Plans demand sacrifice. Plans demand delayed gratification. And many people would rather stay comfortable than become capable. So let's get that very clear. Why do people just abandon their plans and let it go? Because the plan exposes who we are. We are not yet ready. We are not ready. Plan will tell you, I need consistency. So if you create a plan, you need to create consistent action. Sacrifice some things. You need to let some things go and let some things be in the right pattern. Delayed gratification, some things that you need to buy today, some things that you need to do today, you forego it. In economics, it is called the cost of the alternative forgone. That's what planning demands. But we as humans, we are not ready for that. We are not ready for that. But growth always costs something. Growth always costs something. Samran Sandhu, hello. Let me end this part with someone many of you already respect. A lot of you know. Kobe Bryant. A lot, by mentioning that name, in short, everybody knows Kobe. What separated Kobe wasn't talent. It was standards. Early mornings, extra reps, film study, no excuses. Kobe had, I was watching um, one of his videos where Kobe sits down and watches his previous matches to analyze where he made mistakes so that he can correct those mistakes in his next matches. It was that thorough, that detailed. He studied his own themes. So he was able to call himself to order, not to even talk of the other people. He designed his day before the world woke up. When everybody is still sleeping, all these A competitor's colleagues, they are still sleeping. Kobe goes into his lab, design his day, design his match. What's gonna happen? How he's gonna play his match that day. While others chased comfort, he chased mastery. He chased mastery. That's why people admire him. Not because he was perfect. There are times he made mistakes. There are times he didn't get the basket. But even if he doesn't get the basket, he does it in a way that he does it so perfectly well. But he was very, very intentional. He knew what he wanted. Kobe once said, if you're afraid to fail, you are probably going to fail. So if you're afraid to fail, you're probably going to fail. Most people don't abandon plans because they are too hard. No, that's not the reason. They abandon them because they expose the gap between who they are and who they need to become. So your plans will now show us exactly who you are. That's why people are like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not planning. I'm going to live my life the way it is. What's gonna be. Right? Now, living your life in the realm of what's gonna be, is going to be so difficult. Because if you don't plan for yourself, if you don't create clear goals for yourself, somebody else will plan for you and you'll be living in somebody's goals. You'll be living in somebody's design. Remember the beginning of this talk, I did say that design is very important because if you don't design your life, somebody else will design his life with you as a component of his design. So you'll be living the design of somebody's life, not knowing. That is why at the end of every year, you see people going back to the reset, going back to reset. January is not supposed to be a reset. The reason why January is looking like a reset is because psychologically, we have been wired to think that way. Our brains, our minds are wired to think that way. So we see January as a reset, but it's not supposed to be a reset. Let me leave you with this. A better life is not found. No, a better life is not found. It's not on the shelf in Walmart. It's not in Costco. A better life is not found. It's not handed over to you. A better life is built. Look at the names we talked about. Our shows. We talked about Oprah Winfrey. We talked about Kobe Bryant. They built their lives. They built it. They designed their life. They drew their life. They mapped it out, and they followed through. A better life is built. A better life is not prayed for. A better life is not prayed for. You don't go to your temple and pray for a better life. No. You build it. Hello, Ibit Sam. You build it. And the time to build your life is not in January. I dare say this. It's not in January. It's not in emotion. I did say in my last video or in the last live that January actually the year is a creation of man. The year was broken by the Gregorian calendar. If you were to be living in Ethiopia today, you are not thinking of the new year because they have a different calendar. And also the Islamic world have a different calendar. So why are you letting that tie your life down? The year is in continuum. You don't live from January to December and reset again and start living from January to December again and reset again. That is what we have been taught. That is why January seems to be an emotional or a psychological reset in our minds. But actually, life is in continuum. So you don't make plans and stop and think, oh, I'll continue from there. No. Now, you make plans also not in emotion. A better life is found not on a shelf. not in the stores. It's not handed over to you. A better life is built. It is built. You don't need a new year to build a better life. No, you don't. All you need is a new structure. All you need is a new structure. You don't need a new year. And structure begins with a decision. Very important. Structure begins with a decision. If you're ready to stop drifting, stop restarting, stop hopping around, then this is where it begins. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your honesty. And thank you for choosing to build, not to wish. Thank you for your time. If this resonates with you, kindly subscribe to this channel. We have a series of lives in the week, and we have a lot of videos that speaks to bits and pieces of these things we just talked about. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Thank you for your engagement. And it's almost the end of the year, so practically we can say Happy New Year to you guys. So enjoy your holidays and see you next time. Bye for now.